That sets him off. 6 words. Guy stands up. I know the rule at the Hard Rock. If you fight, you're out. It's my only income. You want to talk about violence in the poker room? 2 instances come to mind. One I was directly involved with, and the other one I witnessed. I thought I was going to have to be a witness at a murder trial. So let's start with that one. July 2017. I know it's July because my buddy got married earlier in the month in New York and I was a groomsman. I know it's the last day of the month. It was a Monday, and I remember that because I rarely play on Mondays. I grew up in a restaurant. We take Mondays off. The restaurant's never open. And also it was the last day of the month. That's going to become relevant later in the story. So while I'm in New York, visiting friends, celebrating my friend's nuptials, I get a message from somebody in Tampa saying they're running this huge promotion, never done before. I look down at the Bravo. The wait list is insane for the Hard Rock. And what they were running was every 500 hours you play of live cash, you can get $500, uncapped. I did the math. I could swing 150 hours, I said to myself in the last 3 weeks of the month. I said, once I get off that plane, I'm just gonna play 50 hours a week. I think I can do this. You know, it'd be a big grind, but it'd be a big payout. Full disclosure, I had already spent the money in my head. Get to grinding, baby. So I'm back at the Hard Rock. It's the last day of the month. I will get my 150 hours. Things are going well. I'm just cruising along. Into a hand, 2-5. Action on the river goes check, check. Small pot. And player 1 turns over his cards. Player 2 smiles and then triumphantly goes to show his cards like this, right? So he arcs them and slams them down to show it's a chop. As he does it, one of the whole cards bounces off the table. So player 1, these guys don't know each other. They're not friends. It's like, oh, cards off the table. It's my pot, I win. And player 2's like, ha ha ha. But he doesn't think that's actually gonna happen. So I forget the nitty gritty of that pot. Player 1 does get awarded the pot. I don't know if player 1 was wrong for making them stick to that rule. There's a $16 pot, right? Like no money went in. So he gets awarded the pot, but you know, this is poker. People have egos, even though it was a small pot. So now player 2 realizes that player 1 wasn't joking, right? He didn't give him the extra $8 once the pot got pushed to him and said, don't worry about it. You know, I know what happened. He just takes the pot. So player 2, it just turns over to him and is like, you know what? You're a fuck boy. Now, I've intentionally not told you what these 2 players look like until right now. So player 1 looks like he just got cut from the Tampa Bay Bucks offensive line. Player 2 looks like the broccoli-headed haircut kid who hogs the gym equipment at Planet Fitness. As soon as those words left player 1's mouth, player 2 got real close to give player 1 a piece of his mind. Things got uncomfortable real quick. Now there's about 100-pound difference between these 2 people. At one point, you couldn't slide a piece of paper between these 2. That's how close these 2 guys were chirping at each other. And at one point, player 1 stood up and player 2, cue the music. That's when he knew he fucked up. So thankfully, Floor was on the way. You know, they heard the chirping. We were close to the podium. Floor comes over and, you know, nobody gets murdered, thankfully. But they both get ejected, right? Can't cause a ruckus, can't threaten each other with violence. You guys gotta go for the day. Come back tomorrow, you know, no big deal, no paperwork, whatever. So player 1 understands. Cool, just threaten this guy, being politely asked to leave. I should do that. Player 2 looks at the floor, looks at his chips, looks back at him and goes, but sir, my hours. Sir, I need my hours. It was the last day of the month and he wanted to get the hours bonus. This dude almost got his arm ripped off for $8. on to the one I was involved with. Again, we're at Hard Rock, we're playing 2-5. It's a weekend, it's either Friday or Saturday. There's a nice VIP there who's donating about $500 an hour into our nice little game. There's 2 players from Orlando who I've pegged as like weekend warriors, for-profit players are there on the weekends grinding away. I realized I had profiled these 2 guys wrong when, seed 6, we'll call him Andy. I know I was calling the other guys player 1, player 2, but let's call seat 6 Andy, right? So Andy's the type of guy who's gonna have a couple drinks when he's playing poker. He's gonna relax. He's gonna talk a little shit. As the VIP goes into his pocket for the 3rd time of the night, Andy and this guy get into a pot shortly after. Also, what's relevant to the story, I'm losing in this session, so I'm hyper aware of every pot that the VIP gets into. A hand goes down where a bet's called on the river by the VIP. Andy, who made the bet, motions to the guy in the VIP like you got it. Like, what do you have? He does one of those like, shakes his head, just looks up like, what do you got? So the VIP shows his cards, and then Andy again is like kind of shaking his head, and then he slow rolls aces to this guy who's dumping money. Right, so I'm already annoyed. I'm intentionally trying to rile this guy up, seat 6. I'm chirping at him, I'm talking a little shit, and it's just going right over his head. So I realize he's not understanding why I'm upset. It's also going over his head when I'm trying to insult him. So I give up, right? This lasts very, very short. There's a bit of a lull. And then I guess Andy, seat 6, realizes that I was upset, but I'm like over it. So he says, what's your problem? Like, what happened? And just quickly, I'm just like, I don't like you right now. And then I look away. That sets him off. I mean, I'm calling him names before, I'm challenging his masculinity. I'm challenging his integrity. None of it. He's not hearing anything. But those 6 words, I don't like you right. 6 words. Guy stands up. I know the rule at the Hard Rock, right? If you fight, you're out. And that's my only income. So in my head, I'm looking like, I'm about to get punched in the face. All right, so I'm a little tense, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, here we go. So I'm trying to tell myself, okay, I'll get punched in the face, it'll be okay. I won't get kicked out. I'll be able to, whatever. He's saying like, do you know who I am? You know who you're talking to? I'm just, and then I don't remember how, I don't remember why, but there was just a brief movement and boop, I'm standing up too. And as soon as I'm standing up, I mean, I'm ready to go. Like, I've held it in for as long as I could. I don't want to fight, but you inch close to me while you're standing up and you're being hostile, I just react. I couldn't help it. So I'm standing up and we're getting close. There's another player who's in seat 9, and she is paying attention too, obviously, because we're getting kind of loud. And she gets in between us. She's the mom, right? She is a mom, but she has to act like a mom to these 2 grown men who are about to go fisticuffs over here. And thankfully, she breaks it up before the floor has to get involved. But I was so surprised. I was calling guy names, I was saying some stuff, I was trying to get that reaction. And then when I gave up, those 6 words, just like, I don't like you right now. Just boom, set that dude off.